Today, we stand with Israel, Riley Israel. We'll talk with former America's resident Riley Israel right after this on the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, sports administrators, and sports personalities. Thanks for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Now here's your host, Tim Estes.
Hey, welcome into this week's episode of the Integrity Sports Podcast. Before we get started, let me thank our premier sponsor, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. If you have any tree trimming, tree removal, or stump removal needs, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal has you covered. They can haul rock and sand, they do driveway work, and can now do horizontal grindings of large wood debris piles. Give Keith a call at 229-314-2048 or at 229-938-2412. From day one, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal has been the premier sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast. We're joined today by a guy that I've been trying to get for a long time. Riley Israel, you and I have been friends for, I guess, well over 30 years. This is what I want you to know, Riley.
Yeah.
When I was in college, my brother Steve called me and he said, "Hey, I've got this kid. He's like 9 years old, best ball player I've seen come through Americas." So I've known you for a long time. I'm glad you're joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Riley, let's start by doing this. When you think about Americas, what comes to mind?
Tim, when I think about Americas, I think about a great upbringing. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Growing up in Americus, Georgia, it was simple back then. I really appreciate it now as I've gotten more and more, as I've gotten older in life, appreciate that upbringing and that in small town Americas and just the friendships there. My mom, was there and she worked at the Department of Family and Children's Services. And, she raised me and my younger brother and she did a wonderful job. My grandparents were always at the game and ball and stuff like that. But just many, many friends that I developed there. And each one of those people, I can tell you over the years, that imparted something or a little nugget here and there that I've taken with me and been able to be successful, not only in sports, not only in, the business world, but most of all in the game of life. And I appreciate everybody. I am a very thankful person. I always say this, that there's a passage in the Bible about, the 10 lepers that Jesus healed. And it said that only one came back to say thank you. And for everybody that's ever helped me out in any way, said some positive words to me or anything, I always want to be like that one and come back and say thank you. And I can't say thank you enough for the people that I had the opportunity to grow up around in Americus, Georgia.
That's a good lead in to my next question, Riley. We try to focus on three main schools, Southland, Sumter County, and Sly County. You kind of got the best of both worlds. You've been at both the public school system and at Southland. Talk about some of those folks that were influential in your life.
I did. So growing up, I started off at Eastview and then went from Eastview to Cherokee to Sarah Cobb, and then Sarah Cobb over to Staley. I think that was the right the right sequence.
Yeah.
But had a lot of friends growing up, there in the Americus City schools and, ended up going to Staley Middle School and playing basketball and played football there too. Coach Keith Lee had a big influence on my life at that time in my life. There was two other guys that coached basketball, Coach Charles Truitt and Dwight Harris.
Yep.
And Coach Truitt, from the time I stepped on the floor, he had me thinking that I could run through a brick wall. I mean, like he would just build confidence in you. And I saw him, just years back when he was at Monroe at a high school game, and just walked up to him and just said, "Thank you. I just want to thank you," because he imparted that nature in me, that competitiveness and stuff like that. But I grew up, in playing baseball, and I think it was 1990 we won the Little League State Championship. We were 12.
Yeah.
When we were in 1992, we won the Pony League State Championship, and a lot of the guys I played with were out at Southland.
Yeah.
And so I think it was my mom came to me one day and said, "How'd you like to go to Southland? You could play baseball with the guys out there." And some of my friends like Rob Fletcher and Mike Reeves and Jonathan Bagley and those guys. And I just thought it would be great. And so there's a little story behind that. I went to the 8th grade at Staley, and I was supposed to go to the 9th grade, when I went to Southland. But a lot of people don't know this. But the 9th grade, they already had too many kids, so I got held back. So I had to repeat the 8th grade again. It wasn't because of sports or anything like that. It was totally because they didn't have room in that class. But anyway, went to Southland, and that's where I met Coach Rhodes. And Coach Rhodes had a big impact on my life. When I was a freshman football player, I remember wearing the number 55. And he told me one time, I was inside linebacker, and he told me, he said, "Riley," he said, 55 is the speed limit. Everything stops there. And I'll never forget him saying that. And then, he taught me how to play linebacker. And then Coach McMichael was there my 8th grade and freshman year for baseball. And then Wilkie Smith came in, of course, my sophomore year. And we won the state championship when I was in the 10th grade. We finished runners up when I was a junior, and we finished runners up when I was a senior. I'll never forget this, Tim. And I kid with Mike Reeves and Rob Fletcher all the time. I say, because we didn't get a ring after we won it when we were in 10th grade. And a lot of people don't know this, but we were going to wait because we wanted one that said back to back to back.
Yeah.
And, but that didn't happen. We finished runners up as juniors, and then runners up as seniors. But had a wonderful time at Southland. Love all those people out there at Southland, and just a big supporter of Southland Academy. And all the coaches that came through there. Rod Murray, it's his first year coaching high school football, was my senior year. And Billy Nicholson, his first year coaching high school baseball and high school sports, was my senior year at Southland. And these guys have gone on to do amazing things, in the coaching world. And I'm thankful for each and every one of them. So
it's funny you mentioned those guys, Riley. I ran into Jonathan Bagley and his wife down in Savannah at a meeting not long ago. And of course, he played for me in the summers. And so it was the first time I'd seen him in a long time. He asked me, had I heard from you? So folks still think about you that are connected to Americus. Of course, we get to see Rob and his wife, and they've got some tremendous girls that are athletes right now. So it's fun to watch them. And when you and Rob and Mike coached a state championship team of his own, 2 of them. Here. So a great group of guys that you got to come through. You were what we would call a stud athlete while you were here. And I think you know that. I know you're a humble guy, but man, we just don't have many folks that come through with the God-given ability you had at that age. But somewhere along the line, things kind of went awry and you had to get back on track. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah, so I went off, got a scholarship to Middle Georgia Junior College. Middle Georgia at the time was 3rd, I think, in the nation in any classification and putting players in the pros, not the major leagues, but in the pros, next to Arizona State and Florida State. They had put a lot of people in there. I didn't know how I was going to do. When I got there, it was, boy, you're talking about competitive. It was super competitive. But I earned a spot in left field, and I played every game except for 2, started every game except for 2 up at USC Aiken, and stayed back to work on some grades and stuff like that. My sophomore year went back, but then, I kind of lost sight of the vision that I had for playing baseball and stuff like that. Started making some really bad choices, actually all the way till, I actually flunked out of school my sophomore year, and went back home, and still making bad choices and all to the point where, just really made some bad choices, and even had a run in with the law and stuff like that. And then I was living up in Ellaville, and I was working in an assembly line at Cooper Lighting, and for some reason that summer, Coach Barksdale was up there. He was visiting somebody. He was the athletic director at Southwestern at the time. And he said, you're too good to be, doing this. You need to get back in school. And at the time, I didn't know how to get back in school. But anyway, he kind of helped me, navigate those waters to get back in school at Southwestern. So I enrolled at Southwestern, and Barry Davis's first year was my sophomore year. And so played in the fall, and it's amazing what you can do when you get your mind right.
Yeah.
I play for a guy named Jeff Benton, and Jeff always say, get your mind right, get your mind right. So what I did was I finished that fall I took like 16 hours and finished with like a 3.2, and made me eligible for the spring to play baseball. So I played ball that spring, and but I started getting involved in lifting weights and stuff like that. And that next year, my senior year, I didn't play. It was just, I just had enough. I didn't know what was, which direction I was going to go in life. I just wanted to be a student and get over with. But I was playing softball, and goes back to the recreation department. I was playing the city league on Monday and Wednesday nights. On Tuesday and Thursday nights was church league ball, and then on the weekends I was playing ball with a group called North Columbus Athletic Club, a guy named Jason West.
Yeah,
and those guys over there.
I know Jason.
And so I was playing over there. Well, on Tuesday and Thursday nights, the church I had been attending did not have a softball team that year, and so you could play on another church, as long as you went to church there. So I was working out of the gym at Southwest Georgia Fitness Center, and ran into Warren Alford, and Warren said, we have a softball team. And so I played softball, and I really did it during the week just to get some extra swings for the weekend, the tournaments and stuff like that. But started going to his church, got involved hanging out with Warren, and we started lifting weights. And I got bigger. I started bulking up, and had a job actually working with Mike down at a furniture store down there in downtown America. So we were delivering furniture at the time and going to college, and I was working out and stuff, and so I'm going to school, and then my senior year that I was supposed to play, this is kind of an interesting story. Wes Shiver comes up to me. A lot of people had gone home. He said, hey, there's this independent league team in the making, and there's this team coming to Americus called the Americus Arrows, and they're gonna have a team in Americus, Selma, Alabama, Montgomery, Houma, Louisiana, and several more. And he said there's a 2-day tryout over at it was over at AUM, Auburn University Montgomery. He said there's nobody else in town. Can you come out to Southwestern and work out with me for a week before we go over there? I said sure. So Wes had come off an honorable mention All-American season at Southwestern that year. Had a great year his senior year at Georgia Southwestern. And so I went out and we hit together and we worked out and stuff like that. And I wasn't really in shape, but I had always been able to hit for some reason with a wooden bat. And a lot of people have the tough time with the transition, but I could hit. And so we went over there for a two-day tryout. The problem is that I rode with him, and it was a 2-day tryout. So we got 10 pitches to hit. I hit 3 out of 10 out of the ballpark at AUM. Wow. And so I didn't think I had a chance because I really wasn't in that good a shape, but I was like, maybe I can get on somewhere as a DH or something like that. So the next day we come out to the park and we're looking for names, and Wes didn't find his name. And I said, well, surely my name's not up there. And all of a sudden it was up there under the Americus Arrows. Yeah. And I said, how about that? I said, from the time I was 7 years old playing ball, 7, 8 years old playing T-ball at the old Green Stadium, that every picture I have as a kid, they were constantly doing construction on that stadium.
That's right.
And every since that time, all I wanted to do was to say one day that I got paid to play baseball. And Tim, it was so crazy because Wes drove back, and I was kind of stuck in Montgomery because we practiced in Montgomery for a week. Then we went on the road, and our first game was in Selma, Alabama. And then the next game was in Baton Rouge. And then we come back home. And, of course, we know it didn't financially work out, and they folded it at the middle of the season. But I'll never forget, I tell people that all the time, my goal in life was to get paid to hit a baseball, and I got paid. Now, it was about like a Coke and a smile.
Yeah,
it was,
a pack of peanuts and a Coca-Cola.
It wasn't much, but I always can say that I got paid to play baseball, and that's and after that I played. There were some great guys on that team. I mean, Omar Moreno was the manager. He has 2 World Series rings. His son stayed at my house, and next thing you know, several years later, I'm looking up, and he was as a 16-year-old was like a highest undrafted free agent that year, paid undrafted free agent, and he's sitting here bumming all my groceries and stuff like that. And then Orlando Cepeda's son, Ali Cepeda, played on that team. There was some great players on that team, and that went on and played several more years of baseball. But then after that, I went back and was still working out, and had been attending Pastor Warren Offert's church there, Victory Worship Center. And there was a gentleman by the name of Mike Hagan that came out, and Mike had played with the Seattle Seahawks. And Mike had come to the church, and he spoke, and Mike had traveled with the power team. He had now started his own team, the strength team. Mike was actually based out of Missoula, Montana. And man, he got up and he broke some handcuffs, and he tore a phone book and broke a baseball bat. And I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world, because after he did that, you could hear a pin drop. And so afterwards, he came up to me and he said, "Hey, Warren kind of recommended that you go on the road and travel with us." And I said, "No," I said, "I'm good." I said, "I got 5 classes left at Southwestern." I said, "I'm not trying to run around and drive my head through bricks and ice and all that stuff." And he said, "Well, we're looking for some younger guys, So he gave me his card, and Tim, I went back to school that fall, and I was actually majoring in recreation. And because just from yourself, you don't know this, but seeing you in recreation, and then was it Mike Bird? I think was when I was growing up. I just thought, man, they have a cool job, and so a cool career, and so I was actually majoring in recreation. But I went back to school that fall. It was the October of 2002, and I just could not focus. And that was the time in my life where I really felt the Lord tugging at my heart. And the Bible says, John 16:33, it says, John 6:33, it says, "No man comes to the Father unless he's drawn by the Spirit." Well, that's when I was drawn to ministry at that time. And that's when I truly felt the call. And so I went up to my mom and I said, "Hey, I'm going to withdraw from school this semester, and I'm going to do this thing with the strength team." And she just went ballistic. She just, as of course all mothers do, because they don't know they don't know about it. And so I went back to call Mike and I said, "Hey, I'm in, let's do it." So October of 2002, me and Warren boarded a plane in Atlanta, two old country boys from Southwest Georgia, and flew to Boise, Idaho. And in a 5-night revival, 700 people made a commitment to follow Christ.
Wow.
And if that don't get you on fire, then your wood's wet,
Yeah.
And so I was hooked after that. And Mike said, "How did you like it?" And I said, "It was good." And man, that was the start in 2002 all the way until 2013. I was on the road 30 weeks a year. In 2006, I got an offer from the original power team out here in Dallas. And they said, "Would you like to come out here and we'll put you on salary. You can do front work for us, go book school assemblies and book churches and work in the office and do developmental work. And we'll give you salary, you'll have insurance and all that stuff." And I said, "Man, this is a great deal." And so I think it was August of 2006, I packed up my car and moved to Dallas, and had never been to Dallas. And started living out here in Dallas. And I don't know why I got an apartment, because I was just constantly on the road all the time. And but in that time, I got to travel to, over the years, I've gotten to travel to 48 states and 22 different countries, preaching the gospel. And what's interesting is when people ask me where I'm from, I say Americus, and they'll say, I don't know where Americus is at. And so I'll talk about Plains, and a lot of the older crowd, that kept up with Jimmy Carter will say, hell yeah, I know where Plains is at.
Oh yeah.
But then, a lot of people will say, if they don't know where Plains is at, I'll tell them, well, not too far from Columbus and Macon. And they'll say, well, I never heard of that either. And so about a couple hours south of Atlanta.
Yeah. Home of Dan Reeves. A lot of them know Dan Reeves.
A lot. And let me tell you something. This is a really cool story. When I first got to Dallas, I met Randy White, who the Manster, who played with the Cowboys, at the gym in Frisco, Texas. And I went up and talked to him and said I was from Americus. He stopped what he was doing, and he said, that's where Dan Reeves is from. And he said, let me tell you something. He said, when I signed with the Cowboys, Dan Reeves drove me to Garland, Texas to help me buy my first vehicle.
Wow.
Yeah. And I thought, man, that's a cool story. So, yeah. But yeah, there's endless stories that I could share. I know we don't have a certain amount of time, but no, this is great. And over the years, I'm always have little spots in my life of being homesick for America. Yeah. And when I go back, and I told Mike Reeves one time, I said, in a perfect world, Mike, I said, I would want my kids to grow up with all my friends' kids that I grew up with. And I just think it would be cool that they would have gotten to play sports and stuff like that. But that's not how life works, sometimes. But man, I just thank God every day that, he took a mess, because my life was in a mess there for a year. I made some horrible decisions that disappointed a lot of people. But through encouragement from Warren Offord and man, just through encouragement from my family and and friends that stuck beside me. I remember when I first got on fire for the Lord, I mean, there was one report that came back to me that said Riley's joined a cult, and I said no, and I said here I am today, 47 years old, still praising the Lord, still traveling now with a ministry that I co-partner with a gentleman out of West Texas called Power One Ministries. We've had it since 2015. And still get to travel all over the world, and love coming back to Georgia, love seeing everybody's kids, love meeting their kids and stuff like that.
We are talking with Riley Israel. Our show today is also brought to you in part by our friends at Carter's Fried Chicken. They're located at 206 Tripp Street in Americus. Owner Mike Shaddles and his staff have been feeding Southwest Georgia for more than 30 years. They offer daily lunch specials that include baked or fried chicken, the best vegetables in town, and some incredible desserts. They do it all at an affordable price. Mike and his staff are supporters of all of our local area schools. Go by and see Mike and his staff at Carter's Fried Chicken and thank them for sponsoring the Integrity Sports Podcast. Our show is also brought to you today by our friends at Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance. Marty's located at 925 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Americus. You can go by and see Marty, Mary Lynn, or any of their staff. They'll do the discount double check to make sure you're receiving all of the savings available to you. And remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Riley, I saw some interesting news not long ago on Facebook where your son signed a cross-country scholarship at Georgia Southwestern. So it looks like part of the family's coming back.
He did. Chandler's a wonderful kid. We're so proud of him. And I'm going to give a plug on Carter's Fried Chicken. That was the first place I took him when we went to Americas.
Yeah.
And I said, I used to eat here back when we were training real heavy. And I was going, before I moved to Dallas, and I was traveling with the strength team. I said, I used to eat here all the time. And he said, what was your go-to? And I said, 8 egg whites with cheese grits, and I would mix them together. And so it's interesting because when I still walk into Carter's, there's some of those ladies that are still there, and they say, get the egg whites ready as soon as I walk in. So we had a wonderful time. But Yeah, so we have three kids, me and my wife, Suzanne. Suzanne is a teacher in Plano ISD out here. Plano is a little bit bigger than Americus. There's 33 elementary schools in Plano
Oh, wow.
Independent School District. So our oldest is Dylan. He's 22 years old. Dylan played a little bit of baseball at Brookhaven Junior College here. He went to Sam Houston to be a teaching assistant on the baseball team, but he got involved in agricultural business. And so he graduates next year with an ag business degree from Sam Houston State. And then Chandler is our senior at Plano East. And then again, Chandler, like I said, he goes to the second largest high school in the state of Texas. So ninth through 12th grade, they have 6,600 kids there.
Oh, wow.
So the only school that's bigger than that is Allen High School, and they have 7,100 kids, 9th through 12th. But Chandler grew up playing sports, and he's hard nosed like I was, except he's very, very he runs cross country, so he's very, very skinny. So he's a lot different than I was, but he's a good kid. He plays in the orchestra. He plays the viola. He's also fluent in sign language. He's very good with his grades, which he definitely didn't get that from me. And
he got that from your wife.
That's right. And then he runs cross country and he plays baseball. Every kid in Texas wants to play under the Friday Night Lights. But when you go to a school as big as his, you're probably not going to get on the lights until you're a junior in high school.
Yeah.
So because I mean they still have 2 JV teams, and like I think this past year they only had 4 or 5 kids that were sophomores on the varsity. They had no freshmen. So anyway, when Chandler was in the 8th grade, he ran cross country, and afterwards the cross country high school coach came up to me and he said, "Hey, his times that he ran, the last 2 guys that ran those times, one ran at Oklahoma State and one ran at Arizona State." And I said, "Yeah, he's probably not going to play football anymore." And so he started running cross country and just loved it, picked up on it, educated himself on how to be the best cross country runner he could. But then he started playing baseball, and he had a love for baseball. He's a lot better athlete than I was. He's faster than I was and stuff like that. But he doesn't have the power, but he can still fly. But he plays center field, and so one of the reasons he liked Southwestern is because there were schools that were kind of leaning toward offering him for junior college baseball, and there were other schools that were wanting him to come run cross country. But Southwestern was really the only one that kind of guaranteed that he could do both. And so when Coach McDonald first met him, he's like, "Hey, I encourage you to go to junior college." But when he signed for cross country, Josh was like, "Well, since you're already here, if you want to play ball, we'd love to have you out."
Yeah.
And so I told Chandler, I said, take him up on that offer, and even though you're not, you may not physically, be mature and, for that age yet, I said, your body will grow some more, when you get to college. And so he's excited about going back, but I'm excited about sharing him with Americus. He's that's all he's heard of growing up is Americus in Sumter County and Southwest Georgia. And, my dad coached at Miller County for 27 years. He coached at Terrell Academy, coached at Tift area. So all he's ever known is South Georgia and everything that goes on in South Georgia. And I know you don't like this, Tim, but I did raise him to be a Georgia Bulldog. So,
yeah. I tell you what I am going to do when he gets here. I'm going to make it a point to go and meet him myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to explain to him how you and I were friends. And, if he's got time to do some scorekeeping or umpiring or things like that, I'm going to give him something to do that'll put a little change in his pocket.
There you go. He's already talked about doing that, getting involved in some way, with sports there on the high school level or with the rec department or whatever. And so he's just, like I said, he's a phenomenal kid. And then we have a 7-year-old little girl. She's our little surprise. And, but her name is Faith, and Faith's phenomenal. But I'll tell you what, Tim, when I look back and I look back to the mistakes I made and the bad choices when I was a sophomore, I could never have envisioned myself having such a wonderful family, great kids. I mean, and stuff like that. They're just phenomenal kids. And and just a wonderful job now too. And I'm for the past 11 years. I've been sales and marketing director for a retirement community here in Texas called Christian Care Communities and Services. This past year, I got advanced to a regional role. So I'm over the Texas market now, over the Mesquite campus, and Fort Worth campus, and the Allen campus. And so it's, I have the best of both worlds. I got great family, a great job. I have, a phenomenal testimony that the Lord's given me. I watched your podcast with Mike Turner.
Yeah.
And man, I'm not gonna lie, I shed a few tears too, because the Bible says for those who have been forgiven much, they're able to love much.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I have such a big heart for people and I believe the best in people. And there's nothing that God can't help you walk through like an overcomer. And people make mistakes, but it's I had somebody tell me one time that it's not how you start the race of life that counts, but rather how you finish. And he said, Riley, finish strong. And so I never want to do anything to take away from my testimony, because God's been good to me. I mean, like I said, and the best of both worlds, have a great ministry too, that we still travel. And I never thought I would co-partner a ministry with a friend of mine from West Texas and travel all over the world. But man, this opportunity to still do that and still lead people to Christ and share my testimony, I love it. So
we've been talking with Riley Israel. He's out in Texas now, but looks like he's going to be making several visits to the Americas area again. Let me finish by thanking Custom Auto Sales. They're located at 907 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Americus. Their owners, Lance and Jessica Stick, have been fixing rides for 25 years. Now they want to help you buy one. And let me tell you, I went by their lot yesterday. They've got some phenomenal cars. This podcast is airing on Christmas Day. They'll have plenty of cars, plenty of nice cars between now and the New Year's, and then they'll load up again for tax season. Go by and see Lance and Jessica Stick at Custom Performance Auto Sales. You can reach them at 924-5558 or they're online at customperformanceauto.com. Thanks again to Custom Auto Sales for sponsoring the Integrity Sports Podcast. Riley, we've got about 2 minutes left here. Is there anybody that we've missed that you want to say hello to in the Americas area? And let me tell you this, you reach out to me a good bit. You watch this show. Right. So it's really cool that you get to see this all the way out in Texas. But I want to make sure you don't leave anybody out that you wanted to say hello to.
I just want to thank a lot of my coaches. I want to thank Central Baptist Church. It had a big role in playing in my life growing up. The people at Central Baptist Church. I also want to thank the people at Victory Worship Center. I also want to thank the people at the rec department. I just saw where Travis Rush won the mayor, and
right.
And I can't tell you how many times Miller Rush even gave me encouragement as he was chalking off lines, out of the ball field somewhere growing up, and Joe Smith, and I mean, there's a bunch of guys. Marty McDonald, Ronnie Williams, Alan Smith, Alan Carson, who, was disappointed, and how that Alan passed away, and I know you were there, and Mike was kind of relaying some information to me, but, Darren Alford, Coach Alford's had a big impact in my life. Coach Tim Peavy, all my cousins out of Smithfield, the Israel clan out there,
There's a bunch of them.
There's a bunch of them everywhere. And just so many people. And I know I've left some people, all the people at Southland and then all the people at America's Sumter. I still have I listen to every game that you guys broadcasted, that they broadcasted on 94.7, every playoff game with those guys, because I went to school with some of their parents, back in the day, and stuff like that. And so I love Americas. Just keep up with it. And I truly think the city of Americas, the people of Americas, that I had the opportunity to grow up there. And I can't tell you how many people, when we start naming off names of people that went to college and played ball or played professional ball, I ran into my classmate Naya Butts one time at an airport in Kansas when I was connecting flights, and she was the head coach at Arizona. And me and Naya were on the same team growing up in the rec department, and she dominated all the boys back then, and just great people. And thanks so much, Tim, for having me. And this has been a blessing. And anybody that I've forgotten, I just am truly thankful.
It's been a lot of fun, Riley. I appreciate you joining me and for making the Integrity Sports part of your weekly routine. Go to YouTube and hit the subscribe. And what platform you're watching on today, hit the like and share button. We're averaging nearly 3,000 views a week, and we want to see that continue to grow. Thanks again to our sponsors, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal, Carter's Fried Chicken, Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance, and Custom Auto Sales. For my friend Riley Israel, I'm Tim Estes. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.